All right, let's wrap this up with a bit of discussion about the police force. As I asked the mayoral candidates, lots of concerns about police training and supervision. I failed to mention in the question to them that there's also an issue of domestic violence on the force. I believe Councilman Burgess introduced some legislation last week regarding that. I don't know the details, I'm sorry, but how can we improve training and oversight in the police department? We'll start with that, and then maybe we'll come back for another 30 seconds.
I think that when you look at the Cassandra Wade problem, issue, you know, Zone 5 is one of the most dangerous places, dangerous zones in the city. And police officers are on a seniority basis. So a lot of times they want to get out of Zone 5 as quickly as possible. And so you have the least experienced police officer in a zone that is the most, most dangerous area. So I think that you have to look at the systemic, concerns with it. What's the leadership? What is going on at that level? Why police officers, are they getting the proper training? And actually this ties a little bit with Act 47. I read the rescission report, and it talks about the reduction of employees in the city. And I think you look at that report and you say, okay, let's talk about the details. Is there a reason why we have a surplus in our operating budgets? Is that because we're reducing the employees, whether it's in the police force or the fire or in the building inspectors? You have to look at those details in that. And so on New Year's Eve, is it the fact that we just didn't have enough police officers out there that day? It was enough on a shift change. What were the things that were going on? And when I hear a problem or hear an incident like that, I think, is there a systemic problem that what's going on, and how do we address it, and what do we do to make sure it doesn't happen again?
No one has worked on this issue more than I have, especially around the issue of domestic violence. In addition, early in my advocacy work, I was part of the group that pushed through a consent decree that required all hiring for the police force to be in rules of 4, 1 white man, 1 white woman, 1 black man, 1 black woman. While that was in place, we had the most diverse force in the nation. We've lost that, and we are now basically back to hiring just white men. We also had specialists on domestic violence in every house on the police force who would help with these issues. We don't have that anymore. I am talking to Reverend Burgess about his bill and reintroducing that as part of the solution to what's going on. I also think that we really need to make sure that we are no longer balancing our budget on the backs of the police. We lose them because of bad pay. Not because they have to live in the city. I respect the police. I respect the fire department. I've had guns held on me twice for my advocacy, and I've had my house fire bombed. They came and helped me. I want to protect the rank and file, but we also need to clean out the command staff. When the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh appoints a former batterer as an assistant chief of police, we should all be screaming bloody murder.
Such an important issue and a tough one to address in a minute, but I'll try to make a couple points. Number one of the most eye-opening experiences I've had in the 9 years on the job is police ride-alongs. To see it from a different perspective is amazing, and the scariest moment of my life is when I went on a domestic violence call in Hazelwood on my ride-along. And the officer actually told me, stay in the car, lock the door, here's the radio, if you hear shots, here's what to say. Because he was scared, because he knows it's the most dangerous call to go on. And we need to make sure they're trained properly in how to respond to those calls. The other thing we need to do is we need to look at decentralizing the police effort, not in terms of zones, but in terms of giving some managerial power. Each zone is so different, and then we just run things like a slice of a pie. All right, there's 6 zones. You each get 1 bike. You each get 1 canine officer. You each get 13 police officers. Our districts have different needs. In Zone 4, we have the most calls for service, the most land area, and the fewest number of police officers on any shift. We have 1 bike officer, yet we have the most business districts in the entire city. And the last thing I want to touch on is we need to recruit better. We need to go back to recruiting in our Pittsburgh public high schools. We need to go back and look at reopening police training academies with partnerships with CCAC so you can start your career, your junior year of high school, go to CCAC and join the force. Then we start recruiting people from our neighborhoods who want to be on the police force rather than going out to municipalities, recruiting them, and then surprise, surprise, they want to move home. We need to change it and recruit Pittsburgh people to the Pittsburgh police force.